Welcome back, guys. So in the previous video I showed you how you can generate a timer using an aspect, using an around advice of aspect oriented programming. Before I leave this section of aspect, I want to show you another use case where you can use another type of an advice to achieve matrix collection. So let's say you want to count how many times that same find level quiz that was called. You want to track when it gets called. This time you don't want to time it. You just want to count the number of times it gets called. So let's get that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to come here. So I'm not going to create another all right, so I'm just going to overwrite this code, or so I may not need to do that. So let me just duplicate it. So here we can just put some other method call. Okay, find fetch questions. I'm just going to leave it as fetch questions. All right. So it's an around advice. We know we are not going to call it. So it's just for us not to lose this code. It's fine. So now we want to count number of times this method was called. So this time around we're going to use at before advice. At before advice. So before we execute that method, we want to count. That's what we want to achieve. So at before advice, you don't really need this, and this can be void as opposed to the around advice. So this method call is what we want to do. So what do we want to do? We want every time this method is called, we want to count, maintain a counter on that method. And this time we are using at before advice. So let me add a counter here. I'm going to leave that. So counter. So now this counter, we must also register it in the MeterRegistry. So how do we do that? We say at count. So here it's quiz counter, and then we can leave it as quiz summary. It's fine like that. So what we want to do now is that in here we're gonna say counter dot increment, because remember a counter only from the previous video we said that a counter is a type of matrix that deals with increasing values that only rise. So we are done with this. Is the implementation. We are done. So I'm just gonna run this code again. And then I'm going to try and call that method. Remember, this is the method we want to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, let's go and see. I'm gonna take away this. Let's see if we get quiz. We have quiz counters here. All right, now let's put it here on the query. So we see this method was called 7 times. And you can also drill it down if you want. Use tag as we mentioned, source, I believe, if I'm not correct, then quiz summary, and we still get this data. So this is the simple way you can use an aspect to do matrix collection. So this is the code, guys, and we see that we are not invading our controller. So what happens is that at runtime you can learn how a Spring OP works. A proxy is generated, and that proxy would wrap around this method calls, which means when we call this, it won't go to a controller directly, it will go via a proxy, and a proxy will inject some code and do some counting there for us.